We were just on a property the other day, and the tree came down. It was 2 trunks of a tree came down. There's water sitting between the 2 tree trunks. So it's just a natural place for mosquitoes to breed. So that's all things that we look for, is to try and avoid and do away with
Well,
that.
what have you got there? I see you got a couple charts there, Pat. What's that?
This is actually, I'll let Damien explain. This is just West Nile activity found according to Fairfax County. And so,
yeah. Actually, Fairfax County has a very good monitoring program. So they monitor for cases of West Nile. In 2006, you see where the red dots are. That's where they found actual cases of West Nile.
I'm going to hold that up. Is that 2007?
Yes, and then this is the 2007. And
so Joe can scan those. Let me do it while you talk. Go ahead.
Okay. And so this is just an example of how the disease spreads. And the main people that should have any concern, or that would have any concern about West Nile or infected mosquitoes, would be the elderly and small children and people with immune deficiencies.
Oh, that would be me.
Oh. Yeah. So this is just information that's out there we use to do our research, and then also to see areas where there might be a greater need for mosquito control.
Now I'm going to ask you a medical question, but if you don't, and the West Nile virus, that makes me think of something. In other words, if I have a virus and it's a cold virus, my nose runs and I get a sore throat or something like that. What's the indication that it might be? I mean,
well, West Nile virus, I believe it's you have flu-like symptoms.
Flu-like symptoms.
Yeah, and it just you just continue.
Best to go to their doctor.
Yeah, so if you're experiencing that, it's best to seek medical attention.
Well, what have you got here? I see you got a tree there. What is this? What's this thing?
there's 2 options that we offer. One is our spray, and that's where we come and we treat the property. We do it on basically it's a 3-week process.
Every 3 weeks you'll come in with a power gun or a pump-up tank sprayer or what?
It's a backpack spray.
Okay.
And what we're doing, it's just a specialized treatment where we're getting the mosquitoes, if they're not feeding on us, they're feeding on plants. They're getting a sugar feed off the plant. So any place where we see a lot of plants growth, and that's where the mosquitoes are going to be. So we actually treat the plants. The mosquitoes land on the plant and to get a sugar feed, and that's what actually kills them.
So you go, and how often do you come in?
We do that every 21 days.
Every 21 days, you have a setup with the homeowner to spray the entire property.
And typically, we find that it's about a 95 to 98% reduction in mosquitoes when we do that. And it lasts a 21-day time period.
And when you're going around spraying now, what about it? What you do townhouses too, obviously.
Yes.
So forth. But in properties, in large properties, do you do the borders or way off?
It'll vary, depends on what the property is. Usually living space is what we're looking at. My mother and father-in-law live out in the woods, and so we get their living area, we can get the border of their woods, but we're not going to go 200, 300 feet into the woods spraying down.
Okay, what about the little children that go out and play after you've sprayed? What kind of a waiting period is there?
We just have to wait till it dries.
Till it dries. Hear that, folks? It's non-toxic.
Exactly.
Non-toxic. That's what you need to know.
It's highly toxic to mosquitoes.
Well, yeah.
And the reason why it doesn't affect mammals the same way as it affects certain insects. Insects lack an enzyme to break down the product, whereas mammals, on the other hand, we have livers and we produce enzymes. So even if we are exposed to the product, those enzymes go to work, break down the product into an inert compound, and then they're expelled from the body. So we're not as concerned, and there's mainly 2 methods of exposure for mammals. It's going to be through inhalation or ingestion. So what we always say is, like, while we're doing the application, we don't want anybody to be out with this, and so that's why we have to wear a nice little Tyvek suit and gloves and boots and a mask to protect us. Yeah, and so we just ask that they stay indoors while we do the application. And then once the application is done, there's a synergist in the product that causes it to bond to the surface in which it's applied. So when once it's dried, it's not going to come off very easily. So even if it rains after it's dried, it's not going to come off. We're not concerned about any kind of groundwater contamination.
That's a very good point, because that's what people would be wanting to know. What if it pours rain the next morning or something like that? And
Yeah.
it's still active because it's attached
Right.
itself to the foliage.
Yeah, and the other thing is that when mosquitoes feed, they feed on the underside of the leaves here. So what we're really trying to do is get on the underside of the foliage, and so as a mosquito transverses the surface that's been treated, they have little leg hairs, and as their leg hairs brush up against the product then attaches itself to the mosquito. Once they come in contact with it, it's a nerve inhibitor. So it causes a disruption in the nervous system of the mosquito, and then that's what will kill them. It only takes a few minutes to kill them. And it doesn't harm the plants, and the reason being is plants don't have a nervous system. So there's no harm done to the plants. But going back to mammals, we're not concerned about because of the inhalation. As long as you're not out, you're not going to be exposed that method. And then the next way would be through ingestion. So we just say before you go out and eat all the foliage in your yard, just make sure and wash it down.
And what is this other thing? You were going to say there's another method you have?
Well, there's three
three.
things we offer. One is just an event spray.
Okay.
That's, you're having a large party, a wedding, something like that, we come out and we'll treat.
Oh, okay.
for
Now
that.
that's very good to know. In other words, if I was having a graduation party or we're having a bar mitzvah party, it's a one-time shot.
Yes.
Okay.
The other was every 3 weeks we come out. Typically for an entire season there will be 10 treatments.
10 treatments a year. That's
And
good.
the final one is a system, similar to what you might think about like an irrigation system. But we actually put in a system that will release a product 3 times a day for a 30-second to 1-minute time period. Usually at 6 a.m., 4 in the afternoon, and then midnight.
Is that what this treatment
That's
is?
what this is.
I got to show that. Wait a minute. Talk about that again now. In other words, you put something.
We could
Tell
put
us how it
we
works.
could put a ground level similar to like you'd think of an irrigation head, doing something very similar, or we could put it up in a tree that's just giving them
And that's
mist.
what this is. It's in the tree.
And this, we really recommend it for someone who has gnats, flies. Our mosquito treatment will reduce that. Just our spraying every 21
It
days.
reduces the gnats?
It does. But
Well,
if you really want to knock them out, if you have gnats are your biggest issue more than
Yeah.
mosquitoes, then the system is the way to go.
Yeah. You know what a lot of the gnats will breed to? Is in the moths of cocoa shells. There's a protein in cocoa shells. And the cocoa shell smells nice, folks, but you're sitting out there with your iced tea, and the gnats are getting in your eyes and in your ears, and they're coming right for the mulch.
Yeah,
But this will stop that.
this will.
Yep.
It's very effective for that.
And of course, this goes on, as you said, every
3 times a day.
3 times a day.
Yeah, and this is a different product we use in the system versus what we use in the barrier spray treatment.
Okay.
So
This breaks down very quickly. Out in the sun, and after a few hours, it actually breaks down. Where the other product we use has more of a sticking agent to last a 21-day time period. So really, it depends on the customer's need and what we would want to do. But the whole idea is just to be able to take back your backyard. So if you enjoy gardening, if you just want to be out there with the kids or the grandkids and enjoy it, we want to be able to afford that for someone.
Now, does your company also still supply, though, the various little like punks that you light and so forth, or you don't believe that those are not that?
There's a lot of things that people try. You could go online and see all the different things people try, but the citronella candles, there's propane tanks that people try, and they may be somewhat effective. A lot of times the propane tanks will attract as many mosquitoes as it's catching, so you're bringing mosquitoes in from your neighbor's yard that are attracting to your propane tank. You're getting half of them, and you have just as many mosquitoes as when you started. And they're not effective for getting each type of mosquito. Some of them are designed for the Asian tiger, others are designed for other types of mosquitoes. So that's why we go after all the mosquitoes.